it was a completely different experience when I saw that car. It was like, wow, this is, look at this.
What's up, all you auto enthusiasts out there? Buckle up for a unique experience where we have custom vehicles and their owners share the spotlight in our studio. Have you ever seen a cool ride and wondered who the owner is, what the history is behind the build? On today's episode of Tailpipe Talk, we'll be speaking with Sheilah, also known as the Z Lady. We'll get to know more about Sheilah and what inspired her to build a 2003 350Z. How you doing, Sheilah?
Great.
Welcome to Tailpipe Talk. Before jumping into the details of your ride, take a few minutes and tell us about yourself.
Well, I have 4 children. My oldest is 42. My youngest just turned 22. I have 3 daughters and only 1 son. And I have only been a car enthusiast for 2 years and like 4 months.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very cool. Now, are your kids close by?
My son is in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then my 3 girls are, well, I've got 1 in College Station, 1 in Anna, and 1 in Euless.
Very nice, very nice. Now, are they into cars?
No.
None of them are into cars?
Just
All
my
right.
son.
All right. Well, when did you purchase the 350Z?
I'm sorry?
When did you purchase the 350Z?
It was 2 years ago, this past December.
And what inspired you to buy the car?
My grandson was born prematurely, and this was my son's son. And at that time, my son lived in Virginia, and I took an emergency flight to Virginia. And while I was there, my son took me to a drifting expo.
Very.
And at the drifting expo, I fell in love with a Z.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that was your first drifting experience, an event that you had been to?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty exciting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
So how are things with your grandson?
He's good.
Yeah.
He requires some medical attention.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to see him since he was born, but I we FaceTime and that kind of thing.
Nice. Well, very good. What was your first modification after you purchased the car?
There was a lot, actually.
What was your very first?
So when I purchased the car, first of all, my kids couldn't believe that I purchased the car.
Right.
They were in shock.
Yeah.
But once my son kind of wrapped his brain around the fact that his mom had bought this car, he's like, Mom, you got to get this, and this.
Yeah.
So I got this, and this. So I bought the spoiler, the splitter, the side skirts, the diffuser, all at the same time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you initially went more for cosmetic.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm a girl.
Gotcha. Yeah, I get it. You got to accessorize.
That's right.
You got to accessorize. I get it. Any performance upgrades?
I do have some. I got an exhaust, which is my favorite. It's Motordyne, Shockwave with art test pipes. I have a K&N intake, a plenum spacer, and what's the other thing? You're gonna have to cut this. What's the other thing? Oh, a big bore throttle body.
Oh, very cool. Have you dynoed it?
I have.
Have you?
Yes. Yeah? Yes, I have a tune.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you remember what horsepower it made?
I don't know how to read the graph.
Gotcha. What about the interior?
Okay, so I had some mods, on my to-do list.
Yeah.
The next mod that I wanted to do was the headlights. After that, I was going to move to the interior. I but I got laid off. So I had to put those mods, on the side for the time being. I did recently get a shift knob.
Yeah.
I got a new
Yeah.
shift knob, and I made a shift boot. So that's relatively new.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What pattern did you use for the shift knob?
The one that came off the car.
Well, I guess maybe not the pattern, but did you change the color?
Oh yeah, it's
Is it-
camo.
It's camo.
Yeah.
It's camo. Very cool. Very cool. Kind of matches the wrap on the outside.
Right.
Very cool. Very cool. What is one mod that you're most proud of or that you like the most?
Hands down the exhaust.
Hands down the exhaust.
Love the exhaust.
It does sound good. It does sound good. When you pulled it in, it has a very distinct sound. It does sound good. Very cool. Do you do any type of racing with it?
Not racing. Sometimes I go fast.
Yeah.
No, when I initially got, okay, so I don't know anything about cars. When I purchased a car, I didn't know anything about the cars.
Uh-huh.
I fell in love with the drift car. So when I purchased the car, that was kind of the build that I wanted to do. But since I didn't know anything about cars, I didn't know what it would take to build a drift car.
Drift car, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the cosmetics.
The appearance
the pretty,
of it, yeah,
the pretty
absolutely.
stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And that stuff is kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So after I started learning about different builds, and when I started having friends that drifted cars and saw their cars, I decided that drifting was not the route for me to take.
As far as building a drift car?
Right.
But you wanted more the appearance of, the drift car, which it's actually pretty common because if and you're very well known in the car scene and stuff like that, but when you go to meets, cars have appearances of almost like race cars or a drift car. Now,
Right.
they may have never drifted in their life, but, they have the appearance. So, I mean, it is a very cool look, especially with the splitter, the spoiler. I like the camo. Is it satin black wrap?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, initially it was two-toned. It was a satin black gold dust 3M on the lower half, and on the upper half it was matte black. Let me see. I want to say dead matte black. It was also a 3M.
Okay. And then I see the wheel and tire combination. Is that new?
Yes. I got okay. Huge shout out to Artisa and Fitment Industries. They gifted me these wheels. And
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm oh my gosh, I love them.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they are they're a matte black as well.
It looks really good. Now you had gold wheels before, right?
They were hyper bronze.
Bronze?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
hyper bronze, and they were Cosmos. The thing about the Cosmos is, since I have Brembo brakes, the offset was wrong on the front wheels.
Oh, for the other wheels, the other
Right.
side. Gotcha.
So I had to run adapters and spacers on that, so the fitment was
Yeah.
off, and yeah.
Yeah. You happy with these?
I love them.
You seemed really excited about them.
You know what? I look at those wheels and I'm like, what was I thinking when I got the hyper bronze? I should have gotten the black all along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You don't know unless you change it up and you're like, wow, that looks so much better. Or
Right.
And it's just the subtle details. It's a wheel color change, right?
That's it.
That's all it is,
That's
and it
it.
transforms the whole car. So, well, it's very cool. It's a great setup. What are your future plans for it?
I at some point, okay, so over the winter, I decided to experiment,
Yeah.
if you will, and I bought some wrap, and and put the camo on the top of the car, and that it started coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I did it in the winter. You're not supposed to do it in the winter.
Yeah.
B, it's a wrap on top of a wrap, and that's not cool. But I knew that going in. So right now, I'm having people sign it. It's kind of a fun way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for all the work I put in over the winter. It's something's temporary. But eventually, I would like to get it wrapped in some kind of like lime green and black.
Oh, that would look cool.
I know.
That would look really cool. That's a good color combination. Now, curious, what prompted the signatures? How did that all start?
The signatures?
Yeah, how did that start?
Actually, I think it was from TikTok.
Uh-huh.
I saw a guy that had a Mustang that had people signing his car.
Gotcha.
And that's what gave me the idea to have them sign my car.
Very cool.
And I didn't want the wrap to go to waste, you know.
Well, it's very personalized. I mean, I don't know how many signatures you have on there. Have you ever counted them?
No, I haven't.
There's got to be hundreds on there.
Oh, yeah. And I
Yeah.
have people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Literally all over the world that message me and want their name on there. So I have a special place on the hood where it has the name along with the country that they're from.
Oh, wow. And so you signed their name for them?
I do.
That's
And then-
amazing.
Yeah, and after I sign their name, well, then I'll take a shot of it and I'll send it to them so they can see their
That
name
is
on my car.
super, super cool. Now, I'm going to touch base on something. You said you have people from all over the world. So tell us about this whole viral video that happened on TikTok, because you're over 200,000 followers on TikTok, I think.
Oh my gosh.
How did that happen?
It's so crazy. Okay, so I've only been on TikTok for, I want to say, it was the middle of January, February, March, April, May, 4 months.
Yeah.
I've only been on TikTok for 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. My story, which is everybody's calling it, it went viral.
Yeah.
And that's when everything started happening. Since then, I've gone viral another time.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah?
So I'm overwhelmed. I still don't know how to use TikTok 100%. I'm learning it.
Okay, I think that's so funny because there's people that have been on TikTok from the very beginning and they still don't have a viral video and they're actually trying. Here you just telling your story and poof, 200,000 followers.
Unbelievable. It's crazy. I still can't believe it.
That's amazing. That is amazing. What was the second video?
It was a duet.
It was a duet?
with another granny that she her passion is shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a duet with her.
Gotcha. I need to watch that one. I don't know why I missed it. I do remember you dressing up for Halloween, the granny or something.
Actually, that was my birthday.
That was your birthday.
That
okay.
was my birthday, and I did that 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do it this last year.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do that. I did that with Myrtle's face over there.
Oh, you brought a friend.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's Myrtle. But unfortunately, because of COVID and everything, I didn't get to do that this year.
Gotcha. Wow. Like, I still can't get over the TikTok thing, how that just catapulted you. And then what has been the most exciting thing that's come from the TikTok? Because that's a lot of followers, and
You know what? It's a lot of followers, and there's a lot of things that happened because of that.
Yeah.
Nissan has contacted me. I got to see the first look of the Z Proto. I got to sit in it.
Yeah.
You know, that was really cool. I'm sure Fitment Industries contacted me because of the viral video.
Right.
And I got some amazing wheels. I've got let's see, Falcon. They sent me a gift, a goodie box. I've received multiple goodie boxes from different companies and places.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, I really appreciate it, and I can't believe it. I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But the thing that means the most to me is all the people that have reached out to me and messaged me
Yeah.
and told me their stories.
Right, right.
And, some people have been inspired. Other people have shared personal stories with
Yeah.
me. And I talked to quite a few people um, on messages, personal messages, DMs.
Yeah.
And that's what means the most to me.
The personal connection.
Yes.
And I think that's why people really enjoyed your story, because I remember seeing it and I'm like, wow, that's really, really cool. You went somewhere that, maybe wasn't a great experience, and it was an emergency situation. And then while you were there, you had this, you go to an event and it changed your life.
It changed my life.
Your life.
My whole life.
Yeah, it really did. Just that one experience, and it resonates with people because I think we know there's not a lot of females that are in the automotive industry, not as many as men, you know.
You would not believe the number of young ladies and ladies that have contacted me.
Yeah,
and told me,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration. I mean, you're like, oh my gosh, this is super cool.
Yeah, and I mean, if I can do it, I mean, a lot younger people than I can certainly do it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one thing to buy a vehicle, but then you went out and you modified it, you customized it, and listen. There's a saying amongst people in the car: they're never done. They're never ever done.
Always under construction.
Yeah, that's right. Always under construction. Absolutely. I wonder if there's anything we've missed about the car. Is there anything that we didn't cover about the car?
Let me think. Well, I can tell you this. I did. Okay, I'm having people sign my car.
Yep.
But something special that I've done with the signatures is I have dedicated my spoiler to nothing but children's signatures.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then the name on the back?
That's my grandson's name.
Very cool. I like that. And now, are you going to do anything with the spoiler? Because I remember you saying that you'll probably end up changing the wrap at some point in time.
I will. I'll keep the spoiler. When it comes time to remove the signatures, I'm going to do my best to remove them, in one piece as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I will definitely do something with all the signatures because they mean too much to me.
That would be cool. Maybe create some art piece.
Yeah.
You know, that would be neat. That would be very neat. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to tell us about your vehicle and the backstory. I know our listeners probably want to hear more about you, and we're going to touch base on that here in a little bit. But let's talk about like the car scene. What is your opinion of the car scene now?
The car scene now, it's getting better. I mean, COVID put a huge damper on the car scene.
Yeah, definitely slowed things down.
Yeah, it started to pick up now.
It has. Yeah.
More and more meets and car shows are popping up.
Yep.
Some of the car meets get a little bit out of control, and they get shut down, and that's not cool.
Yeah, it is. It is an unfortunate part. We always say like there's always that one person, and unfortunately, when that one person starts, other people think it's okay to do that, whether it's revving or someone's doing a burnout or just acting a fool. It is unfortunate. I mean, it is unfortunate.
And there are times and places for that.
Yeah,
there are
shows. I agree. Drifting.
Drifting.
Absolutely.
But I've been to car shows and where they're doing legally 2 steps.
Correct.
And, so there is a place and a time for that kind of stuff.
Now you bought this. You said about 2.5 years ago.
It was about two and a half years ago. It was 2 years ago, December.
Okay.
But I bought it. It was I want to say it was 2 days before Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
So it was at the end of Christmas,
Very
right
cool.
at Christmas.
You got a Christmas present to yourself.
Yeah.
So in the two and a half years, what would you say your favorite event has been? And I'm sure you've been to a lot.
Ooh, favorite event. Well, I mean, nothing tops the drifting event
Yeah.
that I fell in love with the car to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I have a question for you in regards to drifting. Have you ever taken a ride in a drift car?
What?
Once you did?
Yes.
Yes?
It was okay. So it was like it was a drifting event. I think it was out at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
And they had like two separate courses.
Yep.
And there was a baby course
Mm-hmm.
and a big course. And Captain Datsun,
Yeah.
however you want to say that, he let me ride shotgun on the baby course. So
I have not been in a drift car yet, but it is an experience. It is something that I would like to experience. I mean, what did you think of it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing to watch them. I call it dancing with their car because the way it moves about, it's so fluid.
Right.
You know, it's just like it's not jerky at all. You know, all of a sudden they're going one way, they're going another way, and sometimes the way they enter these turns, their car's going backwards. It is. I've always enjoyed it. It's truly amazing to watch, especially when
art.
it's tandem. It is an art. You are
an art.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Especially when it's tandem and they're like side by side, so close.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes they bump and stuff, but it's exciting to watch. For me, I mean, it might be one of the more exciting race styles. Drag racing, okay, cool. You're going in a straight line. I like the speed. I like, them launching off, tires pulling off the ground. It's very entertaining. You have autocross, which I enjoy, road courses, but I don't know, there's just something about the drifting. I'm with you 100%.
It's the kung fu of racing.
It's the kung fu of racing. I love it. So the drift event was your favorite.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about the car scene? And I bet you I know your answer already.
My favorite thing about the car scene, oh my gosh. Okay, there's I'm going to say two.
Hmm?
First and foremost, it's the people. It's the car enthusiasts.
I should have wrote that down on a piece of paper. I knew you were going to say the people because you are a people person.
Oh, well, thank you. The second is the variety of cars and builds. And I love all cars. I love all builds. I appreciate them all. So I really, really enjoy looking at all of them.
I am 1,000% in agreement with you. It's the people first, the car second, and across the board, I don't care what it is, I appreciate the build.
Yes.
The custom, the creativity that goes into some of these things, it's like, wow, somebody thought about doing that, and it kind of exudes some of their own personality, right? Because they're all different. And I've gone to lowrider shows, Volkswagen shows, truck shows, anything you could possibly imagine, and I just like it all. There's just, it's rolling art.
It is.
Is what it is. It's just fascinating. Even race cars, like the drift cars, the builds, the roll cages,
right.
the e-brake handles, and just everything about it. It's just cool, something different. But we've talked about your car, we've talked about the car scene, events you've been to, covered a lot of good stuff. But I know the listeners want to know more about you because at the end of the day, it is about you, the auto enthusiast. The people always come first, right? So the first question, we covered earlier, and I was going to ask you, when did you first realize your passion for cars? And you mentioned going to the drift event, right?
Yeah.
Prior to that, did you ever have a custom car? Was there any inspiration prior to that made you feel like you wanted to customize a car, or was this it? This was it. Never before.
Never in my life. You know,
that's amazing.
It's funny because I've never had a passion.
Uh-huh.
I I've done things that I enjoy doing.
Right.
But it's not like what I imagined a passion would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it because I mean that's the word.
Yeah.
My passion,
Yeah.
my passion. And I'm like, okay, so what is this passion thing?
Yeah.
And I thought about it a lot, and I thought, okay, well, I guess some people have passions and some people don't.
Very, very much so. I believe that. I think people can go through life and never have a hobby, never have a passion. They go to work, they just go through the motions, you know?
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I had resolved.
Yeah.
I resolved that I guess I'm not going to have this passion thing.
Right.
I'm just going. I'm going to do things that I enjoy.
Sure.
And I'm just one of those people that's not going to have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. When I saw that car, it was completely different. It was. I have never. I've seen cars that I say, oh, that's a nice car.
Sure.
You know, growing up and being an adult and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I said, that's a nice car. I like that car.
Yeah.
And I've often, people that talk about, oh, this is my dream car. And it's like, gee, I don't have a dream car.
Yeah.
I see cars that I like, but it's not like I've got to have that car.
Sure.
So it was a completely different experience when I saw that car. It was like, wow, this is, look at this. And I didn't plan on buying a car.
Sure.
When I came home.
Yeah.
What I did was, I had taken pictures of it, you know.
Of the drift car when
of
you were
the
there.
drift car that I fell in love
Yeah.
with. I'd taken pictures of it. And so when I get home, it happened like that.
Yeah.
When I get home, okay, so this was an emergency trip. I couldn't stay there long.
Right.
I had to get back to work. So I got back to work, and I want to say it was like a Wednesday. It was like in the middle of the week.
Mm.
And I thought, first of all, I thought that those kind of cars, because those got to be special cars, right?
Right.
They only probably exist in that place. They don't exist here.
Yeah.
Because they're extra special. So, but I thought, I'm just going to get online. I'm at work now.
Yeah.
I'm going to get online and see what's out there. And what I did is I put that silhouette of the car that I fell in love with up on the screen.
Yeah.
And I started looking around to see if there was other cars in the general vicinity of where I live that was out there for sale.
So did you know when you went to the drift competition and you took a picture of it, did you know at that time it was a Nissan 350Z?
No.
So when you saw the car that you fell in love with, you didn't even know what it was at the time. Wow.
No.
So you come back here.
I asked my son what it was.
Yeah.
My son is the one that told me what it was.
Gotcha.
And he got the year wrong. I forgot I forgot what year that particular car was, but my son told me it was an 04.
Gotcha.
So I started looking for an 04. Well, I couldn't find an 04, and the only cars that I could find that had that silhouette was the 03.
Okay.
And so I pulled two of them up, and I found one that looked like almost identical
Right.
to the picture.
Yeah.
And it happened to be local. So I'm like, I'm just gonna email them, ask them about it. I'm not buying the car.
That's how it all
I'm
starts.
not going to buy the car. I'm just going to find out about it.
Yeah.
So I emailed them, and this was on a Friday, and he emailed me back immediately the same day.
Yeah.
And he says, you're in luck. We still have it. Do you want to come out and look at it? Or do you want to come out and see it? And I was like, well, it is Friday. I've got tomorrow off. It's not going to hurt just to look at it. So I'm like, sure, I'll just go look at it.
Yeah.
So I went Saturday, and I looked at it. That's a whole nother story where it is. I'm thinking dealership, dealership with cars lined up that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a dealership like that. It was like in an industrial area. Yeah, there was no cars out front.
Oh, so you went into like a big building?
Yes.
Okay.
But it was an industrial areas where there's like door after door after door,
Yes.
And you have to walk upstairs. So I'm like trying to figure this whole thing out, right?
Yeah.
So I walk in, and the guy, it's a lobby, and there's still no cars.
Right.
And I can't figure it out. But a guy comes out, and I had made an appointment, and he knew I was a lady, and he asked me, he goes, "Are you here for the 350Z?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
He got the biggest grin on his face.
You did. Listen.
Oh my gosh.
I'll touch base on the biggest grin on people's faces. Go ahead.
Gosh.
I got to circle back to that.
And that grin never left his face.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, I'm here for the 350Z. And he goes, okay, he goes, well, I'll pull it around, and I'll show it to you. So he walks me through these doors.
Mm-hmm.
And when he opens up the door, there's, I kid you not, the door could have hit this car.
Yeah.
There's this car that's parked right next to the door. It's a bright yellow Lamborghini. Bam! Right there. And there's all of these high performance cars parked every which way in this like humongous warehouse.
Yeah.
They're not lined up. There's just like crammed in there. So when I get in there, I'm like, dang, I can't afford this car. This is way out of my league. But so he pulls it up, and I look at it, and he says, "Do you want to drive it?" And I'm like, sure. So he pulls it around front. I meet him in front, and he lets me drive it. Okay, now it's a standard. Okay, it's a 6-speed.
Yes.
I learned on a standard, so I know how to drive a standard.
Yeah.
But I learned on a Volkswagen Beetle, and it was 4-speed.
Gotcha.
So I'd never seen 6 speeds before. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do you do with these other 2 gears? So I take it for a little test drive. I don't touch those other gears, right?
Yeah.
I just go first, second, third, fourth. We're good.
Yeah.
So after I drove it, it's like it's all over with, right? So we go inside and we start talking, money.
Right.
And you've got to understand, I'm thinking, I can't afford this car. There's no way I can get this car. It's out of the question, but I want this car. So what happened was I had sold a house, and I had equity in the house.
Gotcha.
I purchased another home.
Yep.
So I still had a stash of equity. I was using that equity for remodeling on my home.
Okay.
I had started the remodeling. I bought all the material, and I had somebody that was doing it for me, but he wasn't remodeling at that time because it was in the dead of winter.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. So I have all this material in my house. I have a wall that's tore down, that's partially rebuilt. And I have all this equity, money in the bank. And I got this car. And I'm like, I got money for the car. So yeah, I spent my money to remodel my house on
Priorities.
on my car.
Priorities.
Yeah.
It's important. I mean, you know.
I don't regret it one bit.
I would be surprised if you said you regret it, because I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, it changed your life. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It did. It literally did.
Very cool.
You know, I'm single, and all my kids are grown and out of the house. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. You know, I'm glad.
I can't wait.
Right? It's like, not woe is me,
Yeah.
poor mom. It's like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
glad. But, you know, the thing about it is, and oh, by the way, I have 4 dogs. Getting back to personal stuff. And I call those dogs, I didn't realize it until probably, or until long after the fact. And I'm like, you know what? These 4 dogs, they're surrogates for my kids. But, so that's what I have. But, so I was comfortable. I was comfortable in my home.
Yeah.
I was comfortable with remodeling, and I enjoy that. But it wasn't a passion.
Yeah.
It was enjoyment.
Sure.
And
Sure.
there's a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
And what my car has done is it's given me life beyond my expectations.
Yeah.
And it gets me out of the house. I've got tons and tons of friends. I'm always talking to somebody on the phone, messaging them, you know. I couldn't ask for anything more, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy.
What a huge change, you know.
It is.
So we were talking about hobbies and passions before, and you didn't have any before the car? Not really?
Not a passion. Okay, I like arts and crafts.
Okay. Yeah.
And I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I did do that a lot. Now, that's my arts and crafts.
That's where your creative side comes from, I guess. Yeah, makes sense. Well, I want to circle back to the big grin on a face, right? So we briefly talked earlier before we started the podcast about our first encounter, right? Where we first met. And I remember it vividly because it was one of the cruises that we hosted. We were at a lakefront, and I remember seeing this black wrapped 350Z go the opposite direction of where we were at. We had not met at the time. And of course, I think most people are like, oh, he's going the wrong way. Surely he's supposed to be over here. And then you rolled up into the parking lot like 10 minutes later, found your way, I guess, or maybe you had to stop at the gas station, but you pulled in, and we couldn't make out who was in the car. But when you got out, we're like, that is so cool. That is just, I was not expecting that. And just like the gentleman who sold you the car, I just thought it was just neat to see you out there in this. And, you know, things go through people's mind. I'm like, is she driving her son's car? Like, you know, you probably get that all the time. Like, look, mom's driving the son's car, you know? And I remember that experience, and I was like, man, that's just so cool. And that was our first encounter. We met during the cruise and had a great time. And man, it's changed a lot for you.
I'll never forget it.
You know?
When I got the car,
yeah,
I wasn't involved in any type of social media. I had Facebook, but I was on it rarely.
Yeah.
And that was just for family.
Yeah.
So I didn't have an Instagram. I certainly didn't have a TikTok.
Yeah.
So I wasn't familiar with any of that social media type of thing.
Sure.
So when I first got the car, I'm like, when I realized that I was going to start building it.
Yeah.
I told my son, it's like, you know, I want to document this some kind of way.
Right.
And I had heard of Instagram. I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but I started talking to my son about it. And I said, I think I want to do this.
Sure.
And so he told me, I think he told me how to download it or something.
Yeah, yeah. Get
And
the app and
yeah,
create a bio and yeah.
He told me how to do that. Now, mind you, my son is in Virginia, so he's not here locally.
He can't hold the phone and,
no.
and walk you through it.
No. So I was learning Instagram at the same time I was learning about car parts and researching, parts for the car and ordering car parts and, trying to figure out the names. And I was trying to learn all the abbreviations on Instagram and, how all that stuff works. So I was learning a lot of stuff at the very beginning.
Yeah. How long? And gosh, that cruise had to have been a couple. So you had just got the car.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was already black. So you
Well,
wrapped
it was. I had it wrapped, and I had the static on the back. Oh,
that's right. That's right.
That's what I was going to tell you. So I got Instagram.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting people slowly. Well, this one guy that I met, he was the one that told me about you, Texas Show Promoters.
Gotcha.
And he told me that, you promote all the shows and the meets and stuff because I'm trying to find that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's why I started the page, right? Because there's enthusiasts out there who have a need for the event info. So I'm glad it worked out, and here we are.
Well, it did.
Yeah.
And so he's the one that told me about you, and so I started following you. And when I started following you and I started watching you, I mean, I can remember seeing you sitting behind a desk on several occasions, and you're talking to people, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's talking to me, and I couldn't believe that there were people out there like that. So you actually became, I actually became one of your fans.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
You're the first person that I actually related to off of Instagram as far as me knowing who you were.
That was very cool. That to hear that, because for me, I just share information. Sometimes I go on videos and I'm talking about certain things.
Well, you make a difference.
But it's good. It's good to hear that. That makes me feel good that there's things that I do that help people get connected, and it's a good feeling that I know I'm helping. So. I appreciate you sharing that. That was very cool.
Sure. But when I saw you in person, I was so excited. And I can remember we were, I want to say it was like the bowling, not bowling alley, but the arcade place. Or maybe it was where the cars were. I don't know. I want to say that it was like arcade or something. It was a game place.
Gotcha.
And I think they had pizza there. But anyway, when we made that stop,
yeah.
And I gathered up my courage and went over and asked you if I could get my picture taken with you.
That's right.
And you were so kind, and you and I got several pictures of us together, and that's the first time we ever met. And as a matter of fact, it's on my post. It's a post a long time ago, but it's on my IG. Like me and you together.
Because, so I remember you pulling into the parking lot and remember you getting out, and I remember that part vividly, but it wasn't until later you asked to take a picture. That's right.
Because you were like my celebrity.
All right, so I will say, this is prior to TSP. I'm a rather shy person, and I am, and I just did my real estate stuff. I would go to car events and stuff, but I wasn't super. It's not, for me, it's never a popularity contest, right? I mean, it's not. Right. I try and stay humble. I talk to people. I talk about their builds, get to know people. But I will tell you the thing that surprises me, and I'm certainly no celebrity, but the weirdest things, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it, is I've had a carpet cleaner show up at my house, and I open the door. He's like, you're Texas Show Promoters. I've gone out to dinner with my wife and family many times. They're like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so it's it's cool.
It is.
But it's also, it catches you off guard.
It does.
And I'm always like very appreciative that people acknowledge. I'm like, thank you so much for the support. You follow the page. Like, that means the world to me, because then I know that what I'm doing is working, right? It's connecting people.
It's impacting people.
You know, and I love to hear that. And I wish more people would share their stories of, you know, and we'll do posts on the page and go, hey, tell us about your, you know, favorite experience. But it's interesting. Out of 80-something thousand people that follow us between Facebook and Instagram, a lot of people are shy and they don't want to share their story or comment. And I'm like, people, there's 80,000 of you. Like, I mean, come on, you got to have something. Like, how did we help you? You know, you're following us for a reason. But I love to hear stories like that. I mean, it just goes to show that what we're doing and TSP is doing is exactly why we started it, you know, to connect people and bring everybody together.
Just this week, I gave somebody your Instagram because they were new to the car scene and they were looking for meets, you know, in the area. Cool. And so I said, Texas Show Promoters. Yeah. Follow them.
I'm beyond appreciative, because if it wasn't for the enthusiast, you know, if it wasn't for the host of the events and stuff like that, there really wouldn't be a Texas Show Promoters, you know. And I just like the community, the culture, the builds, the people. I mean, it's just, I don't think there's anything else out there like it. I mean, it's worldwide. I mean, if you really think about it, car culture is worldwide.
It is.
And I think the ability to connect with fellow enthusiasts, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. You know, if you have an open mind. I know there's a lot of people like, I only like imports. I only like the, you know, but you have to have an open mind, because the amount of money and time and effort you're spending on yours, this guy's spending on his lowrider or more, or what, truck build, Jeep builds. So there is that I always like to use the phrase, we all share one thing, passion.
That's right.
That is, I mean, that's the one thing that we all share. Because without passion, you're not modifying your car. That's passion driven right there, you know?
And that's how you create a car girl.
That's right. That's right. There aren't a lot of female enthusiasts out there, you know, it's kind of cool to see you be involved. And I mean, you hit the ground running, and I'm sure you inspire a lot of people. I think we even talked about that earlier, about you get a lot of people that reach out to you. And, you know, is there anybody that stands out that's contacted you? Or maybe that's bought a car because of you, or, you know?
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, people have been inspired to purchase a car that they wanted, and they've been holding off on it for whatever reason. Some of the ladies, you know, they said, well, I got interested in cars because of you. So that makes me feel really good. I've gotten so many ladies that have signed my car.
Yeah.
And that, don't get me wrong, you know, I like the gentleman, but normally you don't see a lot of ladies at meets and that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
And to see the ladies, you know, come up and be interested and just be involved.
Yeah.
Because you normally don't see that.
Yeah. So should we send a message out to all the single ladies and let them know that the single guys are at the meets and that's where they need to be?
Absolutely. and okay, this is where I left off. And I want to tell the guys, okay, if you want a car girl, this is what you do.
Everybody, listen up. Listen up. This is good information right here.
What you do is she, you know, get her a car, or if she has a car, find all of the cosmetic mods that you can.
Yeah.
And show them to her and let her pick out what she wants. Once she starts building her car, then she'll be hooked. I mean, modifications is a drug.
You know, it does work that way for some people, but I'm gonna share a funny story. So when I first met my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she had a 2000 Corolla, stock little, probably 13 or 14-inch steel wheels with hubcaps on them. I was working at a dealership. There was a guy there. He's like, "Hey, I got these 17-inch wheels, right?" And I said, "Man, those would look cool on my girlfriend's Toyota Corolla." So I take the car to work, throw these wheels on. Now, we would always park out in the street, and so you immediately, when you walk out of the house, you have an immediate side profile. You're staring at the side of the car. Cracks me up to this day. Bring her outside. "What do you think, sweetie?" Looks at the car. "About what?" I'm like, you don't see the difference? Looks the same to me. And I'm like, "Sweetie, you went from like 13-inch like gray hubcaps to 17-inch wheels, low profile tires. You can't miss it. You didn't notice the difference." So I will say this. It does take a certain person to have the creative part. You know, you mentioned the arts and crafts and being creative and things like that. So it doesn't work for everybody.
But the difference is you picked them out, you put them on. She didn't pick them out.
This is very true. This is very true, but I don't think it mattered to her enough.
Oh, it does.
So, meaning that would she go out if I said, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000 for a set of wheels to put on your car"? Would it matter enough to her to select the wheels to put on her car? To her, it's like, oh, they're 13-inch hubcaps or they're 17. Yeah. So not everybody's like that. I don't know, but I mean that would be cool if guys had the bankroll to fund their girls' builds. I mean, I'm just saying, you know. I mean, that's one way to get a car girl. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think it is cool. It is definitely our last guest, Franklin. You know, we talked about before we started, and you know, he's got a girlfriend, she's got a car, they're into the car scene together. I love that. I love it when it's, you know, they share the passion, because it actually I think it helps the relationship.
Oh yeah.
You know, if one's into like fishing and the other one's into like, I don't know, scrapbooking, you know,
Yeah.
you got to have some things in common. And in the car community, like you've experienced in a very short period of time, you go out there and it's very accepting. People are, you know, they open their arms and they welcome you in, and you know, there's a variety of different people and builds, and so it is it's unlike anything else. I've thought about that for a long time, and like there's a lot of passions. People are passionate about sports or hunting or fishing or, you know, whatever it is. But I mean, the car community is so unique. I don't know that there's anything else out there like it that you could compare it to, you know. It's cross-generational.
Yes.
I know, and the crazy part is my parents were not into cars at all, at all. So I don't know where I got it from. I got lucky, and my first car was a 70 Chevelle, and I was hooked ever since in high school. And I think that's what just, you know, took off for me. But my oldest son is heavy into cars. I have a 14-year-old, and, you know, he's got a very cool ride, but he just isn't there yet. And then my 7-year-old daughter, I mean, if I mention car meet, she's getting her shoes on.
Really?
She is, let me tell you, she is all about it. And I'm blessed that she's into it. She's super excited about it. You know, I mentioned a truck show coming up in July. It's 2 months away. She's planning now. Wow. She's like, "I'm going with you to that, Dad." I'm like, you know, so yeah, she'll definitely. Everybody's grown up around cars in our family, and it's very cool. It's just something that they can have a hobby, passionate about, and so
And y'all can share it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of my, I don't know how to explain it, I guess. It's one of my favorite things, especially about my little girl, is we have had a truck since 2012. And in May of 2018, my youngest son and I were in an accident in the truck. And it was an emotional moment even for my youngest son because there was an attachment to this truck. It had been a part of our family for 5 years, been modified. We'd taken it on road trips and events and stuff like that. But I think what really, and it even upset my little girl at the time, but it took about 3 years to get it back on the road because I wasn't sure. I mean, the frame was bent. It was bad. But probably about a month and a half ago, it was finally to the point where it was running, driving. We put a little bit different wrap on it, and we ended up recording it, and I surprised them with it. So as it's backing out of the wrap shop, shout out to Dario B Design, by the way, pulling it out of the wrap shop, I had my youngest son and my daughter facing the other direction so they couldn't see it until it was completely out. And the first thing she does when she turns around and comes up and gives me a hug, because she missed him so much, and we call our truck Mr. Chevy. I will tell you, that was an emotional ride home. She rode with me. My oldest son took my youngest son in the other car. And she's not shy on camera, so she's holding the phone and she's talking about it. And she's literally crying. She is so emotional that for 3 years, that truck we never got rid of it, but that was her first time riding in the truck in almost 3 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, you're 7 years old. You are 7 years old and your attachment to this vehicle is amazing.
Yeah.
So she is, we had the truck longer than her. So, I mean, her life has always been with that truck, Mr. Chevy. She talks about him. She wants to ride in them all the time. I mean, it's just cool to see that, with your kids, their love and passion for the car. So I say it's cross-generational, and I mean, I'm sure their kids will, be into cars and spaceships, maybe, flying saucers at that time. So, but it is cool. It is very cool. Well, I have a question since and I always like to ask this because I feel like everybody's words of wisdom could be different. So you've obviously made modifications to your car, which is still in 2.5 years relatively new. But having gotten this far, do you have any advice for somebody who might be buying their first car, who wants to modify it, customize it? Any words of wisdom?
Do performance first.
Do performance first, okay.
Yes. Put your wheels on before you do a wrap. Put your wheels and tires on before you do the wrap.
And what's the reason behind performance first?
Well, for me, my favorite mod is the exhaust. And like I said before, if I had one mod, if I could only do one mod, it would be the exhaust.
The exhaust, gotcha.
And
gotcha.
So that is part of the performance package. And if I were to do it over again, I would have done performance prior to all the cosmetics, but I was seeing all the pretty stuff and not,
and so the exhaust you hear, which is great because obviously it changes the performance, the sound, the thrill of driving, I think.
Yeah.
the cosmetic, if I see you from afar, I may not hear your exhaust, but I'm like, ooh, that's eye-catching, you know?
Right.
So it would probably be hard to choose, huh?
Well, it is. But another thing is, depending on what you put on your car as far as cosmetics go,
Yeah,
that could be in the way when you try to put in the performance.
true. Gotcha.
Mods.
And then you mentioned buying the wheels before the wrap. Is that because of the color choices?
No, that's because of the rubbing.
Oh, got you. Like with a fitment issue, and I got you. And then it
Right.
rubs off the wrap that you just put on.
Right.
I could see that being a problem. So, tell me more about your friend in here. I mean, you brought a co-pilot.
Oh, that's Myrtle.
Myrtle.
Yeah.
Is this so you can get through carpool?
Well, I need a co-pilot.
Yeah.
But she's not much help. She sleeps most of the time.
So did you use Myrtle's mask when you drove through the drive-thru?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And they didn't say anything?
No.
Ah.
No. I was disappointed.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I saw that video. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh gosh. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Sheilah, I can't begin to tell you how honored I am to have you here, hear your story, sharing with us. I mean, your experience. I think it just goes to show that age doesn't matter. You know, it does not matter. You've only been at it for, you know, a little over 2 years. You're making TikTok videos that make people smile and, you know, laugh. And I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. And you've been on TikTok for 4 months. You have 200,000 people that follow you, more than 200,000. You've got almost 10,000 on Instagram. I mean, it's you're doing something right? I mean, you really are. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you at a lot of meets and events and seeing what you do to the car in the future. So keep doing what you're doing, and people are loving it. I mean, they really are.
Well,
So,
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
it is truly my pleasure. Truly my pleasure. So I think we're going to sign off for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Hope you enjoyed our podcast. If you like to watch the video version and see details of Sheilah's 350Z, make sure to check out our YouTube channel, Texas Show Promoters. Texas Show Promoters is the #1 source for all auto event info, and also the largest community of enthusiasts in the state of Texas with over 80,000 combined followers. Make sure to give Texas Show Promoters a follow on Instagram and Facebook, and never miss an event again. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, as we'll have new episodes every Friday with some very cool builds and even cooler owners. If you have a custom vehicle, live in the DFW area, and would like to tell your story, please reach out to us and let us know. And maybe it'll be your name on our marquee next time. Take care, guys.